Ladies and gentlemen, here we go with game number 2. It's Rhett against Mana. This is the NASTL finals, where both of these teams are 1-1 apiece. Of course, it's Mouz versus Team Liquid for all you people that Team Liquid that are just joining in. And Mr. Bumblebee, a.k.a. Mana, is up 1-0.
Disappointing game from Rhett. He went with, it's not cheese. We were thinking it was going to be cheese, but it was just really aggressive, very fast 2-base Muta. Typically a very strong build, and I think we got robbed of seeing what that build does look like. With the spine crawlers like we talked about, the lings at the top of that ramp, 2 Zealots and a Stalker. Do they set up that pylon? Absolutely not. They get ran over, and then the gateway timing never happens. And Mana uses those warp-ins to build back at home, sure. But Mutas show up undetected, and at a time when they probably get a crack at the mineral lines, they probably send the Protoss into chaos. And from there, you know, Rhett will take a 3rd, maybe a 4th, switch to Roaches, and it's just a really strong Zerg strategy. But unfortunately for Rhett, I think he underappreciated, like you were saying, the potential fake push. But I think when you see those pylons going down and you're doing an already very fragile and greedy build to a certain extent, not necessarily greedy, but more fragile, you can't run that risk. And it's not like 2 spine crawlers are a huge commitment, man. I mean, come on.
I don't care if, you know, it is a fake or it's real. When a pylon gets placed, you got to respect it.
Exactly.
You got to respect it because it's not worth it. It's not worth the, what is it, 200 minerals?
Right.
200 or 300 minerals, you could say, with the extra drone for the 2 spine crawlers. So
well, let's do the even if. Maybe it is a fake, but when that pylon completes as a Protoss player, how many gateways do you have behind that? The least you would have, the fewest, is 4 gateways, which is exactly what Mana had. The most you would have is 8, which is what Huck would have. But throughout that entire spectrum, it's more than enough to kill 6 Zerglings, right? So, for gosh sakes, let the spine crawlers finish.
Yeah,
and if you have to eat the cost of those 2 spine crawlers, I don't think it screws over your build. But you know what? Let's not belabor the point too much. Rhett would have taken it back too, I'm sure.
I mean, Rhett sometimes is that brutally efficient player that just wants to have the most perfect build. So under the right pretenses, he would have had the most amazing build. And we would have been complimenting him like crazy. And like, oh man, this is so smart. But unfortunate for Rhett in that particular position, got punished. Now, talk to me about PvZ on this old map, Daybreak. What can you tell me? How does Protoss play? How does Zerg play, etc.?
Well, Daybreak's a good map, actually, for Protoss for Zerg play typically. Rhett did select this map, which is interesting. I had the pleasure/displeasure of playing him on here. He just has it mapped out really well in terms of where you're going to put your pylons. It's a really good Muta map. And what Rhett likes to do is he likes to stick on 3 bases and either open Roach Ling and try to limit your 3rd and then transition to Muta, or open Muta and harass you while transitioning into Roach. But he usually likes to make that little swap Ruski on this map in particular, just because of how far the 3rd is away from the main. There's a lot of different attack angles you can take, and if you can spread your Protoss opponent out, you can really whittle them down.
Yeah, I like Rhett's transitions actually on this particular map, and he loves this map because there's a lot of room between, you know, all the bases and all the bases. That's basically how it goes down. I mean, taking the 3rd, it's still pretty far from the 3rd to the natural of the Protoss base. So he can get him enough time to actually get good creep spread, get his units out into position. He'll be all fine and dandy in case there's any 2-base pressure. But, you know, I have seen a lot of gateway pressure on this map. I think Void Ray is a little bit worse relative to maps like, let's say, Antigua Shipyard or even Chakura's Plateau. On maps where there's the option to build a pylon sharing the cliff of a main base, so that you can really start like using the air units to spot and then warp in up into that main base, that's where it's really cool. To your point, on a map like this, Void Rays are not necessarily less effective, but they are more one-dimensional, which means actually what I just said is untrue. They do become less effective just by that very notion. So that doesn't mean you don't go Void Ray. It just means that if you do, you're running a little bit more of a high risk. Now, Rhett is at 3 bases. We can see the double gas is just now completing and being saturated. Very standard for Rhett. This is a really cool build. Every time I see Rhett play ZVP, of course, minus erroneous games like the last one, I feel so compelled to be like, Machine, watch this guy play. Or, you know, if you're a Zerg at home trying to figure out this matchup, if this is that Idra matchup for you, this is that one where you just can't seem to get over it mentally, watch Rhett play. I feel like he is so solid and so strong at this matchup. I have to agree. I mean, the tricky thing about Rhett is you never really feel comfortable against him. I mean, you have first-hand play against him.
Oh, man.
Especially recently, but you just never feel comfortable because it always feels like he could be massing up a ton of units at whatever time, and he always seems to read exactly where it is going to be. Now, I love this choice. Look at this. This is going to be 4-gate pressure yet again, just like we saw last game.
And it's really fast. The gateways are actually not that close to being complete. So what's happening here is this is a time where Rhett would like to be making units, or excuse me, he'd like to be making drones, but instead he has to make units. Now, he did wait. He's holding off the lings to make roaches. That's actually such a wise choice. Had he used this larva to make lings instead, there's a really good chance that a Warp into Zealots makes this a really cost-effective altercation for the Protoss player. But with these roaches, I don't care what mana warps in. He's got to get the heck out of here.
Yeah, roaches are so good against Zealots. You can kite them all day, especially on creep. There you have it.
And drones immediately. Look at that.
That's what he needs.
Oh my gosh. That's such cutting edge right there. Like, that's the kind of stuff that, if done incorrectly, we look back on that and say, Rhett, that's why you lost. But because it was done so correctly, he gets an extra morph of drones, and that's huge. Absolutely huge.
A lot of lesser players would have just continued making units directly after that.
Yep.
And they have no counterattacking option. I mean,
correct.
Just the sheer defensive capabilities of sentries and photon cannons, it just doesn't leave you any option. So I like where Red is going right now. It looks like he is massing up on roaches. He's getting Gleeweary Constitution, so he might just say, I'm going to pressure you forever, and you'll never be able to situate a third.
Rhett's a very... He definitely has timings kind of built in his head. If you try a gateway timing against him and it doesn't work, he knows how to saturate his base to the full extent and then absolutely never stop making units, and that's what he'll do, to your point. The nice thing off this 3-base play is he can go pure roach at first, and he can afford to spend some money on a Spire and then make that switch. And that switch is so dramatic because you have to build photon cans in your mineral line, you have to make your way to Templar, and if you've been pinned on 2 bases because of those roaches, you actually can't afford to make Stalkers and Templar at the same time, so you have to make some really hard choices from there.
We're going to see a little bit of harassment, but this War Prism's actually going to go directly into one of the Overlords. Actually, 2 of the Overlords.
Yeah, I see this is the worst secret spy mission ever. Yeah. This is Austin Powers. But like in a James Bond movie, so it doesn't work. He gets shot. Do you find me randy, bait? Falls over dead. Yep, don't want to land here. Do not want to land here. Now, the good thing for Man is he's setting up a third behind this. That's what I like about this Warp Prism play. We'll see this out of Sase. I know State does this as well sometimes. And obviously we can add mana to that list here.
God. And these 4 Stalkers, they might be in a lot of trouble right now.
They're going to get out of there.
Yeah, they're out.
They just narrowly did, though. That's pretty scary.
Look at that supply difference. Look at that income difference, 57 to 72.
I'm telling you, Red's done making drones, so he's going to max actually at, I'm guessing, 12.5 minutes, so a minute from now, he's going to be maxed.
By the way, just to let you guys know at home, 72 drones. Well, if you divide that by 3, what is your answer? 24. 24 drones on every single one of these expansions. That's actually a really good saturation.
Yep. I was wrong. He's going to max out before 12.5 minutes. That's so gross. And you know what he does from here? He attack moves. He's actually got the Mohawks on too, so we're never going to see this Midas I was talking about.
No.
Max Zerg. Here it comes.
Force field?
Force field, great. I'll go right under him. No problem.
More
yeah,
force field?
more of them, sure.
Yep, okay.
Can't stop it.
Got it.
Nope, can't stop it. Here they come.
All right.
You're getting annoying, man. You just can't stop it. And no blink. Oh, he does have blink, but what good? Roaches are in the cubicles of death. Meanwhile, there's like the attempt of a counter inside the main of the Zerg, but that's not going to... It's a Warp Prism. It's actually not going to do anything.
Yeah, and he's now going to swing around to the third. All he needs to do is, chuck out 3 of them. Let them go attack, and then keep the Stalkers busy. But no, he's actually just going to go for it. I'm sure.
Why not? Look at the rally. Like I said, he's never stopped making units.
Yeah, and this is awesome. And these Blink Stalkers are going to go back into Roach Fodder, and they're going to get smashed up into little tiny pieces.
This is level 75 of StarCraft Master. It's where you're at 100 supply and your opponent's at 200 for the entire game, and they just attack move you.
Yeah.
And you have to be 2 or 3 times more cost effective with everything. Good luck.
Or this is wave 40 of Left to Die.
Yeah.
Endless.
Third Nexus will go down, and, you know, Mana's going to push out against these roaches, but there's just too many of them. So the scenario we saw with Hero versus Morrow, where there's a lot more Stalkers versus fewer roaches, you have the option of maybe trimming them down, but in this case, it's a lot more roaches versus very few Stalkers, and Stalkers don't do a lot of damage, relatively speaking.
Yeah, this is going to do it. I mean, it has no AoE or no, like, mass immortals, so this is going to do. Roaches are just way too powerful in these numbers. And he's being overrun, sir. We're going to see a GG
This is so refreshing for me to see. This is exactly what Rhett did to me, okay?
Yeah.
He just steamrolled all over me, and it was so funny, too, because the stream chat's like, what a newbie. Gosh, obviously you're supposed to hold this attack off. Yeah, okay.
GG.
Yeah, okay.
GG.
You want to know the mistakes Mana made?
Go.
You want to know how small they are?
Mm-hmm.
He tried a really fast gateway time against a Zerg that made the perfect choice. He held it off perfectly with 5 roaches and like 6 lings. Immediately started to make drones. Never stopped until 72. And then he made roaches with double evolution chamber upgrades. And that's it. Okay? Don't tell me about like what did Mana do? Like there's no terrible mistakes. He did Warp Prism Harass. It was ineffective because there's too many units out there. Mm-hmm. Back at home, he's trying to take a third. Yeah, you have to take a third against that. You don't take a third, you're in trouble.
Let's be honest. On this top level, when you have 2 of the best European players in the world. Okay, that didn't make sense.
I understand what you meant, though.
Damn. 2 of the best European players going up against each other. What you actually have is a case where I did 4-gate pressure, and it did not do enough damage.
Any damage, yeah.
A little bit too many drones, whether it be like 6 more. If he killed 6 drones, I think he's fine. Or maybe a little bit more, but 6 drones, he's fine. In that case, he didn't kill anything, and that's game over, man. That's game over. Rhett will not let up. There, he's relentless.
Because he knows he's
safe.
safe.
Exactly. He's like, okay, well, I have my third. I have it saturated before you have your third up. I'm just going to lean on you.
My message to Protoss players around the world, Rhett will continue to play this way until he gets punished by a player like Huck and that style over and over again. If you do a fast pressure and instead of having 4 gateways behind it, you have 8 and you're warping in different locations and you're really starting to spread out a Zerg who's like, Rhett's got a hair trigger on the production for drones. Like, it was boom, the second that was held off, drones. It wasn't like 1, 2, 3, 4, now I make drones. It was the pylon is like it just starting to explode and drones are already in production with every larvae he has.
So this is what you should do. Make 2 pylons, 8 gateways, make it look like it's 4 gateway, okay? In the back, you're actually making a ton of zealots, and then you're expecting him to drone, boom!
Could do that.
Smash face.
Do that. And Huck doesn't make sentries when he 8 gates too. He makes all zealots in the first 2 or 3 warp-ins, then add stalkers. And then we'll transition to Blink Stalker, which is a great transition because it doesn't take a lot of gas, and you're already working off those gateways. So that's the kind of play style, but I mean, honestly, there's of course other ways. It's not like this is the only time Rhett's ever lost a ZVP, but man, oh man, Mana made one slight mistake, and against other Zergs, he'd still be in the game, but against Rhett, no chance in hell.
Unfortunate. We're going to move on to Game 3, though. It's going to wrap up this series. Let's see who takes the advantage in series number 3. We'll be back after this break.